This week's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. Have you ever woken up with a funky symptom like a swollen, itchy eye, weird-looking rash, tight pain in your neck, you can't see when you stand up or sit down, and then immediately Googled it and searched TikTok to see what's wrong? We've all gone down that rabbit hole, but it's time to get the help and care you really need with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. How many times do I have to say this? I love using ZocDoc. I actually have a teeth cleaning with my dentist who I found through ZocDoc literally 5 years ago. I'm a loyal customer, and she uses ZocDoc. I love her. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Schauer, SCHAUER, to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/SCHAUER, Schauer. ZocDoc.com/Schauer.
Well, hey guys, this is Schauer Thoughts with Sarah Schauer, the podcast for left and right brainers. I learned something fun this week that has to do with thoughts. So I'm reading about cognitive psychology, and apparently all thoughts are shared, right? So thoughts are communal shower thoughts. I really got to give my parents a high five for the last name. Well, my dad. My mom, actually, I don't want to tell you her maiden name because then you could find out her information, a whole bunch of passwords for me. But yeah, so this is Schauer Thoughts, where left and right brain meet, which is where logic meets emotion. We don't privilege one aspect over the other. We merely experience it as consciousness. No, well, actually, yes. Well, it depends on what you think constitutes consciousness and if your emotions or thoughts are individualistic or collectivist. But yes, there is a fun element to this, but so we start this podcast out with a bit of a warm-up, as you would warm up for a shower. The week has been incredibly stressful. We have a new president, or dictator, if you'd like to be technical about it. Actually specific. We're in an oligarchy now. We've been in an oligarchy. An oligarchy is just where, people with a whole bunch of money and companies run this country. Democracy is dead. Sorry, womp womp. We insert a, Yeah, we are in the fuck around and find out phase. Unfortunately, even if you knew, you're finding out again. But repetition is the key to learning, so really pay attention this time, guys. Hopefully next time, if there is a next time, we'll get them. Revolution is upon us. No, actually, it depends on... I'm sorry. I have a whole bunch of followers across the political spectrum. And so, there are some Democrats here. We might even have some libertarians. And in that case, sovereign citizens are the funniest thing I've ever learned about. But, okay, yeah. So a lot of you are left. I can't imagine many of you are right. And if you're on the right, you're not right. In the head, I'm so serious. But... this week has been stressful for me. What else has happened? I want to start a book club. I realized that I could start a book club through my library because I was researching book clubs for lesbians specifically, but all of the lesbian book clubs are in Long Beach, and I don't want to drive an hour, and most of them were fiction, and I know that there's a whole bunch of lesbians in Long Beach. Have you been, Rebecca?
I lived in Long Beach for a year.
How many lesbians did you see?
Countless lesbians. I believe that Long Beach is where lesbians go to settle down.
All right. I may need to migrate. But, okay, yeah. I don't want to go to Long... And I love Long Beachers. I love a Long Beach. Sorry. That's not funny. But, yeah, so I was going to start a book club at the library. You just have to get a room. I kind of want to get the same room that I have my AA meetings in because I think that would be hilarious. But no, it's anonymous. I know. I really got to stop telling people. But it's so funny. So yeah, I think I'm going to start a nonfiction lesbian book club. Probably open it up so you don't have to be a lesbian, but some form of gay I'd prefer. So we can get heated. I do like combative older lesbians. And with the library, you can't really yell. And if you do yell, not that loud. Oh, by the way, this week's topic is decentering men. Decentering in general, but we're going to focus on men. Back to my week, the president. So we left the World Health Organization, Paris Climate Accord, tariffs on Mexico and Canada's going to shut off most of our power. And then, they, it just seems like, I don't know. We got to stay hopeful. Like I said in the first episode, hopefully you watched it. Hope is half fear, half happiness. And thankfully, we are halfway to hope because we're scared shitless. So try to microdose some happiness, turn it inward, and then maybe build some hopefulness, wonder about the future, because wonder and hopefulness share the same emotional equation. We are going by collectivist emotions in this sense, which means that the happiness should be shared with others. Oh yeah, collectivist, individualistic emotions. Individualistic, we assume that emotions are our own. They are contained within. Collectivist emotions, you assume that they're shared between people, which honestly does make more sense. This is still the warm-up phase, but I'm going to get into it. The most obvious example of collectivist emotions in an individualistic culture, which we are in, is between a mom and her child, right? Like you assume that they are communicating, like sharing the same emotions. The mom smiles, the baby smiles, right? Shared happiness. They're experiencing and feeling the world together. But, in an individualistic culture, we assume that cuts off, that ends, emotions are ours and you can't make anyone feel anything that they don't want to. That's not true, right? You can make people you can make people scared out of their mind, whether they want to or not. But yes. So hopefully I'm going to talk about decentering men while we're warming up. At this point, metaphorically, I actually really just reminded you of the week. So we need to shed the week before we step into the shower. We wash off, we refresh our perspective, we get nitty gritty, in the crevices, in the holds and the folds. Folds and holes. Folds and holds? Are you laughing? Is anything funny here that I'm saying right now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, here's the thing. I know how to talk at length, guys. I don't, but I don't know if it's funny. Usually when you do stand-up on a stand-up stage, there's people in the audience. I mean, I have done stand-up for literally no one. I've done it a couple times at this really, really nice Thai restaurant in Glendale. No one there except the people eating, and all the comedians were at the bar facing away from the stage. That was humbling. I've also done an open mic at a very straight Irish bar where everyone was drunk, and the hecklers were there was this one really drunk girl who was heckling another comedian, and he was talking about, actually, you know what, it's about abortion, and we just lost, so I can't get into that. But yeah, so I've done a lot of hard crowds, and then I'm also not good at public speaking, which seems like it doesn't make sense, but when I was in college, you have to do a how-to speech for public speaking, and I chose how to change a tire. And I know how to change a tire, but at that point, I didn't realize I was autistic and just nervous, and it was broad daylight, and there was only like 30-ish people in the room. And like I am talking about how to change a tire, and I start dry heaving like I'm really, and then my vision starts to go because I go stress blind sometimes. It's where you get so stressed out you go blind. It's really awful. It happens when I'm having panic attacks, so it does feel like you're going into cardiac arrest and you can no longer see. When I tell you, scary, but I've got that in order. So yeah, public speaking does scare me. That's why I take beta blockers and Ativan. This is supposed to warm you up. This is supposed to get you calm and in the mood. All right, guys. Take a beta blocker or an Ativan. Maybe a hit of something. Maybe open a drink. Or maybe go for a run while you listen to this. Because we're going to get into my shower thoughts, and we're going to talk about decentering men. What is it? It's the newest sensation sweeping the nation, and I'm going to run through it. Granted, what I do have is around 14 pages. So we may have to do a part 2. But I am... Oh, I'm autistic. That's what I forgot to tell you guys. I don't know if you watched the first episode. ADHD and autism, lesbian, alcoholic, military brat, every single, yeah. Permanence, it's not in my vocabulary. But so we're going to talk about decentering. And a lot of you guys don't know what decentering is, but it's a sociology thing, right? Social conditioning, social prescription, how you should live your life, This is where, if we, guys, and also, comment down below if I should do sound effects. Are we like cranking up the heat? Because, I don't think any of us take about 10 minutes to take our clothes off. Unless you do. I actually don't know. But should I do insert so decentering, what is it? So basically, in life, we're actually going to go farther back. So in life, depending on which culture you are from, but I'm going to assume that if you're listening to this, you're from an individualistic culture. If you're not, stay with me. So we kind of all want, a couple things: love, intimacy, connection. You could want meaning, happiness, understanding, tranquility. Why I said if you're from a collectivist culture, stay with me. I know that happiness can be an individualistic pursuit. Collectivist, not so much on the forefront of everyone's mind. I actually did write that. You could include harmony, but so that is the top row of everyone's wants. Everyone wants, love, intimacy, connection, right? You need connection to live, survive. Ask any psychologist, any development behavioral development person, if you don't get hugged when you're a baby, you're going to kind of turn into... This is actually why I think Rapunzel pisses me off so much. Now, I'm not jealous of Rapunzel, but I was raised in a military family where we moved quite a lot, and so I was quite separated from a lot of people growing up, and then my parents were super Christian, and I was on the spectrum. I was always rocking back and forth, and they always made me feel weird about it and stupid. So I literally did hide in my closet most of my life, right? And so when I watched Rapunzel and I saw her grow up in complete isolation and be normal and happy and chatty, I was mad. Not because I was jealous, it's because they created her the wrong way, right? If you don't have love or connection all growing up, and also I doubt that your stepmother wants, it's flawed. But okay, everyone wants love, intimacy, and connection, and that is the top row, right? Now, beneath that row is the methods people use to achieve love, intimacy, connection, however you define those things. And so in the second row would be men, alcohol, drugs, thinness, overconsumption, it's a lot of different things are in the second row, right? So what happens when you center something is that you combine rows 1 and 2, where you think that the only way to get love, intimacy, or connection is through men or alcohol or shopping or being thin or some other status symbol. However, they are two separate things, right? So if you have centered men, you think, the only way that I could actually be loved for the rest of my life is if it's with a man through a man. If I am not with a man, I will not be loved, right? And whether that be romantic, platonic, sexual love, however you define it. Or, if you center alcohol, where you put rows 1 and 2. Alcohol in moderation is great and can be used as a social lubricant to connect with others. If you go to the bar and you're like, I'm going to go with my friends and I'm going to have a couple drinks, and you have a couple drinks but the purpose of going out is to connect, then that is great. You have separated rows 1 and 2. However, if you go out to get drunk with your friends, but your friends really don't have to be there, you're not enjoying it, you don't remember it, and you repeat that every single time you go out, you have centered the alcohol in the experience of connection.
I am trying to connect with these people, but the only way I can do that is if I'm completely blackout drunk, and I do that, I repeat that every single time. Do you understand what I'm saying? Is this clear, Rebecca?
It is extremely clear, and I think it's a great example.
Okay, that is great. Now, a lot of people, if you want to get into another metaphor on this with the alcohol example, a lot of people say, well, why would I go out if I don't get drunk? And so if you guys are lesbians here, you'll understand this. Why would I hook up with someone who doesn't have a penis, but they use a strap, right? And the strap is simply the method to connect or be intimate, right? And also it is centering the penis in this situation. If someone is not present with a penis, then what is the point of having sex? Well, the act itself is a method to connect and love and be intimate. If you're prioritizing strictly the pleasure and no man or any person who has any sort of penis is present, then you've centered the penis in this situation. So yeah, a lot of people center the things, the methods, but not the love, intimacy, connection, meaning, harmony, happiness, depending on what's in your top row, right? What's in your top row? So a lot of people think that centering, because it's commonly associated with men, is a feminist conversation, and believe it or not, it's an addiction and recovery conversation, because you can center anything, men, drugs, alcohol, capitalism, consumerism, whiteness, thinness, right? And so when you center something, let's get to it actually. So when you center something, it's socially prescribed. You are taught that this is the only way to live, present, move throughout the world, right? So you're told that being thin and straight is the correct and right way to live. It is socially prescribed. If you were to think about it as society giving you pills and you have taken them your entire life, right? A lot of us will need to wean off of those things, so it will take time, which is why it's an addiction and recovery conversation, because it requires constant attention and upkeep. Telling someone to recover from capitalism or white supremacy or the patriarchy by just leaving America does not work. Well, the analogy would be like going cold turkey, as those are systems of oppression. And if they were that easy to escape, they would not be systems of oppression. They would just be some dicks in one area that you should get away from. Okay, so centering something, it has been socially prescribed. You have been taught that, if you're a woman, you need to date a man. And if you're going to have sex, it needs to be after marriage. And it needs to be him penetrating you with a dick, and then you don't get off, and then your sex is only for the purpose of procreation, and then you're supposed to serve him, and he dies in your arms, and you die somewhere in a landfill because he was the breadwinner and you had no money. I am so sorry. That was actually was that pretty intense at the end there?
Yeah, that was pretty dark.
I'm so sorry, guys. Okay, fine. You die in your house that's being foreclosed on because the economy is going to shit under Trump.
Phew. Okay, phew.
Whew. I'm actually so sorry. Okay. But that is a socially prescribed life cycle. Now, the great thing about decentering conversations is, so it's not inherently feminist, but it is a conversation cultivated by many different groups. So if you're going to decenter gender, you're most likely going to read books from people who are trans or non-binary. That does not mean that you will become trans or non-binary if you decenter gender. It means that trans and non-binary people had to decenter gender, undo what was socially prescribed to find out who they truly were, right? Like if I tell you to decenter men, I am a lesbian, and that is a bit disorienting, confusing, misleading in this conversation. When you decenter something, it does not mean you abstain from that thing. If you decenter gender, it's not saying you are now a gender. No, it's saying that you need to undo what you've been socially prescribed, which is you've been taught this is the right, correct way to live and present yourself. And then when you decenter, gender or whatever, and you find out, oh, maybe I am, like you learn all that's out there, through feminist texts, connecting with people who are gender nonconforming, right, agender, and you talk to them, and at the end of that, if you still decide, oh, you know what, I think I am a woman, that is great, right? But the thing is it's truly and genuinely your choice. You're not just saying, I'm a woman who serves a man. I will be a receptacle for sperm. I will produce children en masse. You know what I mean? That is social prescription. Undo the prescription, wean off of it. You're going to withdraw. It's going to be isolating. That's why it's an addiction conversation. You will be constantly surrounded by patriarchy. So it requires constant upkeep,
I will say, as someone who went through that, there's also a lot of grieving you have to do as well.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of grief. So when you undo any social prescription, when you get sober from anything, right, the first thing to go is always your friends. I say that as a alcoholic. The first thing to go will be your friends. Now, if you have friends who love you for you, that is great. And that is novel. It's very, I don't want to say that you're going to lose all your friends, right? But if they get high with you, or if they get drunk with you, or if they center men with you, then they're going to kind of fall out with you because you don't have as much in common. I can talk to a straight woman, but will she want to talk to me for a very long time? No, especially if men come up literally in every single conversation. But yes, you will grieve. The term is ambiguous grief or disenfranchised grief. It really depends on what you decenter first. But yes, I do have some books on grief. Should I suggest those right now, or do you think I'll forget?
I think you should suggest those right now.
Okay, so you're gonna grieve. And trust me, I'll get into the more examples of decentering, but okay, guys, hang tight. So these are books on ambiguous grief. If you want to talk about grief where someone is literally passed away, I actually do have some books on that as well. Okay, so Myth of Closure, Ambiguous Loss in a Time of Pandemic and Change by W.W. Norton. Loss, Trauma, and Resilience by W.W. Norton. Actually, both of those are quite thick. They're thick girls. Here, let me find you something. The Grieving Brain by Mary Frances O'Connor. Grief is Love, Living with Loss. Notes on Grief. Atlas of the Heart, Mapping Meaningful Connection and the Language of Human Experience. I don't need to do a disclaimer every time. I am not a teacher. Always feel free to fact check me. Source, right? Decentering is a fairly new concept, but if you're going to fact check me, I would look into intersectional feminism. Yes, there's also, actually, if I were to give a kudos to the community that's really on the cutting edge of decentering, asexuals have got it down. Asexuals, when I tell you as a lesbian, we really got to talk to asexuals more because they have, you hear lesbians say, oh, we're supposed to be attracted to dudes, and asexuals, they're in that same boat. They're like, I'm not. And I'm like, we gotta start a softball team. It's so rare for people not to be attracted to men. We're stuck on the men part. You're stuck on the attraction part. It's so cool. We gotta hang out.
This week's episode is sponsored by ZocDoc. Have you ever woken up with a funky symptom like a swollen, itchy eye, weird-looking rash, tight pain in your neck you can't see when you stand up or sit down, and then immediately Googled it and searched TikTok to see what's wrong? We've all gone down that rabbit hole, but it's time to get the help and care you really need with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high-quality in-network doctors and click to instantly book an appointment. How many times do I have to say this? I love using ZocDoc. I actually have a teeth cleaning with my dentist who I found through ZocDoc literally 5 years ago. I'm a loyal customer, and she uses ZocDoc. I love her. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/Schauer, SCHAUER, to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/SCHAUER. SCHAUER, Schauer. ZocDoc.com/Schauer.
Let me get back to what I was saying. So we're still heating up. I hope that you guys are washing dishes, folding clothes, cleaning out the litter box. I actually have to get a much taller litter box. My cat is getting older and he pees quite high and it just goes everywhere. And he also has started licking himself too much to the point where he's kind of pulling skin off. So we did get him a cone. So he's been walking around with the cone and he looks really sad. Let's get back to decentering. Now, the phase beyond centering is full-on addiction. That is a more nuanced conversation. When you decenter something, you should focus on yourself. You shouldn't really tell other people that they've centered gender or drugs or alcohol or men. I mean, you could, but if there's any person who's struggled with addiction listening right now, is that wise? Is it wise? No. It's not wise, right? They'll hide or they'll lash out. So then when you take it a step further past centering into addiction, you really, unless you're well-versed in intervention tactics, you really shouldn't tell someone they're addicted to anything. You should just maybe offhand suggest it. And then if it's getting too overwhelming, try to phase them out a bit. And then that sounds callous and cold, but as an alcoholic, I can tell you, just because someone else is suffering doesn't mean that you should suffer as well. This person also with the addiction issue is a full-grown adult, and we really need to invest more in our community resources and get into harm reduction, and that's another conversation. But if you as an individual cannot take care of them, then I would at least hook them up with community resources while you're phasing out, right? And it's not callous, it's life. Life gets you down, but okay, yeah. So this is a sociology discussion. I really should go by my notes. Yes. So when you're socialized in America, what does it mean to be socialized? You're taught that things are the right way to act in certain situations or when certain things happen. Like if you're a woman, you're taught that if a dude is mean to you, that means he likes you. That's socialization. So if the next time a dude is mean to you and you're like, he likes me, he called me ugly and he threw shit at me, he has a huge crush on you. You've been socialized to believe that that is true, correct, and normal, which it is not. So when you decenter men, you're mainly decentering patriarchal lessons. And so this is also a cultural discussion. So what I keep saying this okay, how do you know if you're decentering the right thing? Think about it. Like if you were to learn about a new culture, right? If you were to go into a new culture, what would you reasonably have to brush up on? Language, customs, attitudes, beliefs, historical sites, historical figures, historical texts, nuances, cultural nuances. And so in a patriarchal, individualistic culture like America, when you decenter men, you're going to want to look into intersectional feminist texts. You're going to want to examine your beliefs and attitudes towards men, women, gender nonconforming people, society in general, rights, friendships. If you expect more out of your girlfriends, but nothing out of your guy friends, right? You have not decentered men or gender, right? That's a twofer. In a patriarchal society, it's completely normal to compare yourself to another woman. And that is completely unacceptable in a decentered, when you decenter men, right? Because when you decenter men, you stop comparing yourself to other women and you truly just look and behold the world with fresh eyes. And you see the beauty and the expression that women, gender nonconforming, and even men, have what they're expressing, like they're artists and this is their perspective that they're conveying to you. And you're just truly taking in the beauty instead of taking it in to compare yourself next to it. Yes, men, you can decenter men. It does not mean that you cease to become a man. In a similar way, if I were to decenter, well, I'm non-binary. I'm no lesbian. And I'm sober. Shit. I'm going to use someone else. Rebecca?
Yes.
Shit. You're a lesbian who's... Okay, you know what? An example of men decentering men is that I did see this TikTok one time where this guy said, I want to pursue hobbies, but it doesn't seem logical. And the thing is this is how patriarchal culture affects like terms and concepts and ideas as well. Emotions themselves have been feminized and logic has been masculinized. However, both of them are free of gender, right? You need both of them to live and exist and operate within this world and to respond rationally, reasonably, and logically to any situation. You can be more emotional or more logical, which I guess means flatter affect to most people, even though it's supposed to be a way to figure out if you were purely logical, you'd be dead. I'm so sorry. If you had no emotions, you may be missing or have some dulled emotions. But if you were to be truly, genuinely emotionless, you would actually be probably clinically dead. And I do apologize for that. But yes. Yes, so logic has been masculinized, emotions have been feminized. You need both simultaneously, light and heat. Yeah. Okay, so this guy said pursuing hobbies is not logical. That does not make actual sense. That sentence is not logical because you can pursue hobbies logically. What I'm assuming he meant is that it would not make him money. But the thing is that is the same equation you wish to escape. Right. So like if you want to pursue hobbies, but it seems like you've already given them a 0 or negative value, which you can't assume unless there was some previous input, which is society talking, right? Capitalism talking. Like hobbies and art has been feminized, right? And so things that are feminized are given a 0 or negative value. Therefore, they do not contribute to your life. But that is not logical, right? Hobbies and expression historically do add to, your life and your life experiences and your joy and all that stuff. So to assume that hobbies have a 0 or negative value is you're actually trying to figure out how to make money off of your hobbies, which is just, again, pure capitalism. And so since you have also given hobbies and expression a 0 or negative value, you are hesitant to exploit your own labor, right? Because it's only worth doing if you can make money off of it and you don't have to expend energy or someone else expends energy to do it for you, which again suggests that hobbies and art have been feminized. However, that is not logical, right? So you can logically pursue hobbies. Actually, emotions can be logical. Whether they're rational or irrational is the problem. But so if you've actually are just saying the formula for pure capitalism and exploiting labor and thinking that makes sense in the context of hobbies. It does not. So shed both of those, undo the deeply internalized capitalistic system that is probably rotting your unconsciously. And I'm not blaming this dude, but also decenter men and what that means for hobbies and art and the textiles and expression. And then you will not cease to be a man. You will be a man who can express himself through hobbies or art, right? And it adds to the value of your life. And you're not trying to make money off of it. That's a goal, and you don't feel bad about it. You're still a dude. Does this make sense?
Yep.
Are you saying that?
Yep.
This is where it's not clear and I need an audience to be like, when no one has let you talk this long, that it's kind of like, feels like a prank, I feel like I'm in, Never Been Kissed with Drew Barrymore, you know? Yeah.
No, what's that one? She's All That.
Yeah. You guys are going to invite me to prom, and then I'm going to get ready, and then I'm going to open the front door, and all of you in your stretch limo are going to pelt me with Trump's $7 eggs, and I'm going to weep.
$7, yeah.
Yes. I'm going to have to get that dry cleaned.
It's just going to be such a, I don't know. One time this is actually humiliating because I'm gay now. You know what? I'm going to lie a little bit. No, I can't. One time I dated someone and I thought it was a prank because I thought that they were like so much better than me. And turns out I just had low self-esteem. Yeah, I have low self-esteem when it comes to my intellect. I only recently started reading these past couple of years because alcoholism rots your brain. Who knew? So these are some things that Americans have been socialized to center. Okay, Sarah, what do you, when you decenter men, gender, alcohol, drugs, what do you center? Yourself. Your own love, intimacy, connection, harmony, meaning, happiness, whatever your top row is, right? Is that selfish? No. It's how you sustain life, right? Like if you don't prioritize yourself, how can, what's RuPaul? You know, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell can you love somebody else? Well, the thing is that's actually not even technically correct. But you do have to invest in yourself and the world simultaneously. How does that happen? It's not even two actions. It's just one, right? When you start to decenter men and you stop comparing yourself to other women, you actually kind of relax the burden, the psychic burden that other women have around you, right? Because now when you enter a room, you know, you're not examining it to compare and rip someone apart and judge. You're just there to live and exist freely with other women and notice the beauty and expression they bring to this world, right? So by investing in yourself, you're simultaneously investing in the community. So is that selfish? No, I don't think that is either, right? This is this is what they do to people who work at nonprofits, right? Oh, dude, let me just, take advantage of you. But then you get compassion fatigue, right? For people to work at a nonprofit effectively, efficiently, they have to get a full night's rest. They have to get paid normally. They have to be allowed to have breaks. They have to be allowed to say no. Because if they can't, then you're just taking advantage of more people and thus defeats the purpose of the building and business that you said you were, creating. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
All right. Everyone in nonprofits is like, thank you. Okay. So the things that Americans were taught to center. Relationships are between one cisgender man and one cisgender woman. They both save themselves for marriage, only have sex when they are married. Sex is when a man's penis enters a woman's vagina. His pleasure is all that matters. She is just a vessel.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, that's the truth, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah. Call me the USS Schauer because I'm filled with semen. I'm actually so sorry both of my parents were in the Navy. Oh my God. I made this joke. I don't do this anymore both of my parents were in the military, so I hooked up with a lot of people in the military. And I always said that, I hooked up with so many people in the military, I can board planes early. That's not even that funny. I get 10% off at Kohl's, too. Okay, so this is what you're socialized to center. The married couple, actually, I do have my military ID, and I was thinking about using it to go on Pendleton, to go to the officers club, to bowl. And then people were like, oh, but your military ID has been expired for 10 years. And I was like, people at the gate don't read. You're telling me that the person on gate duty can read? I'm so sorry. There's probably...
There's someone on gate duty right now listening to this.
They're like, oh! And I'm like, you're so lucky that this is not transcribed. No. I'm so sorry. And I am, to be fair, making fun of Camp Pendleton right now, which is for Marines. And Marines eat crayons. I'm so sorry. I know that there's some people in the military who are like, hey, dude, I did this to go to college. And it's totally valid. And I know that not everyone in the Marine Corps is eating crayons or crowns. If you're from the South, I don't know. We're inclusive. But, yeah. So it was Seaman, USS. Get it out of there. Okay, men go to work and provide for their families, but so the breakdown of the centering is the only valid relationship is between a man and a woman, which is true, and in the eyes of God, we're all Christian here. the only valid form of intimacy is penetrative penile sex. I hate that I used penile. I just wanted to say that it's with a penis. The thing is a penis is not wrong or bad. It's just that if it's only right if it's penis in vagina, right? That's why people, they always ask lesbians, well, how do you have sex? And the thing is that's actually open for interpretation. So lesbian sex is very dicey, right? Whether it's with fingers or mouth or strap or other
head, shoulders, knees and toes.
Knees and toes. Head,
shoulders, knees and toes.
Yep.
Knees and toes.
But
fingers and pussy and
butt and hole. Shoulders, knees and toes.
Knees and toes.
The only valid form of sex is penis and vagina. And only the penis comes and the penis connected to man. But so you decenter that, you undo that social prescription by learning about, the LGBTQ community, by learning about gender nonconformity. This is where asexuals have it down. I am so serious. Pick up Ace by Angela Chen, and it's just so illuminating. Or there's another one by Sharonda J. Brown, if you would like a Black asexual lens on sex. But they have decentering. They have that term down. They did the work. I can't. We really got to hang out. Decentering does not mean abstain. And this is what I wrote. I really cannot emphasize this point enough. It means undoing how you're socialized so you can truly choose the life you want. You are the decider, right? Unfortunately, I am sober and a lesbian. Normally, that is a great thing, but in this context of addiction and recovery, it's going to come across like I'm saying, if you want to decenter men, you're going to be a lesbian. If you want to decenter alcohol, you're going to get sober. No. There are so many valid forms of recovery, like moderation, right? And also it's incredibly valid to be straight and bi and pan and gay. You know what I mean? So you can decenter men as a man, attracted to men. You can decenter alcohol while you drink it, right? You're attracted to it. I don't want to say that's weird, but the Kahlua bottle is kind of sexy. I'm not going to lie.
She is.
Yeah.
I never thought about that, but she is.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Anyone can decenter anything. Women can decenter men can decenter men, gender non-conforming people can decenter men. But the thing is they probably already have, as they've decentered gender. And so, it's kind of a cart for the horse, situation. Like they're probably already decentered men. At no point am I saying you are going to stop being attracted to men. You need to stop dating them. What will usually happen, though, is that how you recenter yourself is you pour into yourself all the energy that you've been putting out into the universe, living according to someone else's standards, right? If I look like this, if I do my hair and my makeup like this, if I only talk about this, if people will accept me, you start to talk about and do and express yourself in the way that you genuinely, truly want to. You start dressing for yourself. You start speaking your mind. You start saying no to things that make you uncomfortable. You don't apologize for things. You pursue hobbies or crafts or a job that genuinely makes you happy. It's not just because your dad says it's what a man's job is. You stop living for someone else and you start living for yourself. Yes, it will kind of induce anxiety because you need to wean off a social prescription. And much like if you stop drinking and then, you got a hangover, you're going to get anxious as you're coming down. So you're going to get anxious and you're going to feel a little bit isolated. That's why lesbians often say that they feel like very isolated because we do live in a patriarchal culture, very male-centric, But also I've seen a lot of TikToks from straight women talking about decentering men, and they kind of feel a disconnect with their old friends because they're like, wow, all my friends really want to talk about is just like the guy they're dating and how he's manipulating them and how they have to beg him to love them. And it's not pathetic, as that's a moralizing term. It's just you don't really vibe anymore, Yes. I'm going to keep going. I also wrote straight women, non-sapphic individuals, you can decenter men. Intersectional feminist text is what you need to read, right?
It's how you start investing in yourself, knowing what you've been taught is right or wrong as a woman or, as someone who's femme or femme presenting, right? And then men, you should learn that as well. And then cultures, customs, attitudes, what's like moving out of the way for a man on the sidewalk. That is a custom. Stop doing that. Apologizing when you don't mean to. Stop doing that. What's something else that women are supposed to do? Not speak up in a classroom, in a boardroom. Ooh, there's actually a really great book that I'm going to... It's exclusively on Amazon, and I know that you guys are taking a principled stance. Leadership Recreated. If you want to decenter men in the workplace... Okay, it's called Leadership Recreated by Kem Gamble, PhD. I did send her an email from her email in the back of the book, and I asked her, hey, love your book, but can you publish this on another platform besides Amazon too? Some of my followers will absolutely not break that picket line. And actually, I don't know if there's a strike right now. So I'm just saying that usually my followers don't buy from Amazon. But I'm not judging. We can talk about accessibility and stuff like that in the future. But it's a woman's guide to surviving and thriving in patriarchal academia. And it does give you a pretty great structure on how to decenter men in the workplace. You don't have to be in academia, but it's a really, really great guide. There's also, this is from Leadership Recreated. Wait, it says page 39, but bell hooks? Maybe bell hooks is cited in the book, but visionary feminism is a wise and loving politics. It is rooted in the love of the male and female being, refusing to privilege one over the other. The soul of feminist politics is the commitment to ending patriarchal domination of women and men, girls and boys. Love cannot exist in any relationship that is based on domination and coercion. A genuine feminist politics always brings us from bondage to freedom, from loveless to loving, right? And so this, bell hooks did put it, obviously, through the lens of feminism, but you could apply that as well to alcohol and drugs and gender as such, which is not inherently a feminist conversation, which will enter the addiction realm. And capitalism was made to get you addicted. That is actually consumerism is another great podcast topic I'd love to talk about. But yes, so men and women have to be free. And the thing is I might just make a part 2 because I want to talk about gender roles, because it wasn't women who shirked gender roles first. It was men when they dodged the draft. Okay, back to what I was saying. The male gaze, right, is part, not male gaze. RuPaul. No, okay. Male gaze, like staring. A lot of people talk about the panopticon, which we can never escape, which is about surveillance. And it has to do with patriarchy and capitalism and the government always watching us, where it's men are locked in the guard tower and women are locked in all of our cells, and you can't escape the male gaze. Everything is performance. You're always dressing for men. We live in a surveillance state. Even if the blinds are closed, you don't know if they are watching or if they're not. But the thing is it's not just women locked in the prison. It's also men, right? Men have their gaze fixed ahead. And if you want to talk about operational costs. But also, I know it is a metaphor, but a panopticon is not a very... Okay, so it's a type of prison. But the men are locked, staring straight ahead, always watching women, always telling women what's right and wrong, how to dress, how to look, how to act. But the thing is inattention to self breeds invisibility, right? In that guard tower, in the panopticon, it is rank, it smells like shit, the hygiene is filthy, okay? And I guess that is metaphorical in this sense. But the more you pay attention and you focus on what other people are doing, the more you neglect yourself. Because if you want to get into consciousness in the brain, right, you can't hold the image of someone else and yourself at once, right? And so what patriarchy does is you're always focused, you're always worried about someone watching you, or you're watching someone else, or you're comparing yourself to someone else. But inattention to self breeds invisibility. So let go the image of others and what they think of you and what they've told you is right and true and correct, right? Will you still be locked within the surveillance state? Yes, because until we rip this shit down, we're going to be living in capitalism. But invest in yourself, and then you will be investing in the community,
right? You'll be investing in the other prisoners. And dudes, stop thinking about what women are doing right or wrong all the time and look around that goddamn guard tower and be like, do we want to rot in here or do we want to help them blow this shit up, right? The thing is patriarchy and its cause. That's not even, you've lost yourself, completely. You're fighting someone else's cause. You've been stuck in there and you smell like shit and all you're doing is forced to stare at women all day, Just, I don't know, blow this shit up with women. I'm happy that politics are like moving away from left, right to up, down, which is totally and completely correct because it's really the 1% controlling all this stuff anymore. Like you pit women against men but everyone should stop mid fist fight and be like, who started this fight? Why are we like, men are like, I want to cry. I don't want to be lonely. I want to be loved. And sometimes I do want to wear makeup. And women are like, I want to be seen as a human being and not killed in the middle of the night. You turn to face each other and you're like, who is this who we are? And then you realize, oh, the government, the systems that be have just pit you guys against each other so you don't see all the shit that they're doing to us, I actually do need to make a part 2 for decentering men because now I got derailed. But yeah, decenter men, gender, and then all the other stuff. And find out who you truly are. Recenter yourself, your love, your connection, your community, your hobbies, your expression. Get into the textile arts. It's logical. It really is logical. Emotions need logic and logic needs emotions, as emotions are the inputs and outputs and logic is the function, the equation. And sure, you can memorize all those equations logically, but how will you connect them? You connect them with the inputs and outputs, and that is, and then it would be so cool to get into, shared consciousness, and then we could talk about like shared thinking. A lot of people think that you are your brain, but that's the realm of neuroscience. If you want to talk about consciousness, then we get into like the body and quantum physics, and that's really cool. But I do need to make a part 2 because I am 5 pages in to 14 pages. So that has been the nitty gritty. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. But we will be cooling down now. Wow. I don't hate men. That's the thing. Is that like a lot of people think that lesbians hate men, which some do. Nuance. Decentering men, 4B, and misandry should never be used interchangeably. They all mean different things. Just because they're all associated with something to do with dudes does not mean they're the same. They have different domain restrictions. If you like math, you understand that means those formulas go to separate things. Just because there's a 2 in the answer occasionally does not mean that they're all related to the same thing. But yeah, I don't hate men. A lot of people are like, oh, are you a lesbian because you hate men? It's like, then that would mean, gay men aren't gay because they hate women. They're gay because they like gay dudes. Hate does not factor into my attraction, which is, oh my God, these are so many fun topics. I'm indifferent to men. This is where I wish an asexual was here because they really nailed that in the Ace by Angela Chen. But I'm indifferent, and so when it comes to decentering, I don't want you to stop, being in love with dudes. I don't want you to stop loving your husband or stop being a man. I don't want you to hate men. I mean, then we can talk about misandry, and which is, depending on who you ask, philosophically, does or does not exist. As misogyny is actual systemic oppression, but misandry is, the more hatred of men. And we could also get into double consciousness, where it's kind of a defense mechanism where you develop, this is why we need a part 2. But I don't hate dudes. I hate the patriarchy, right? But hating men is not always at the forefront of my mind, as that would take up too much mental energy that I could use crafting or doing some math or cleaning my cat's litter box, However, I am subconsciously and always in the background hating the patriarchy, right? Which is a systems level. On an interpersonal level, That's a waste of energy, right? And that's inattention to self. However, on the subconscious, there is a full-on hatred of the system and some individual men, which I feel like are totally justified to hate. So this is where I guess I could say not all men, but that's nuanced. Also, when people say not all men, they're telling you that they don't understand how sociology works, or plurals, because men is plural, right? So like sociology is the study of groups. And so like if you're talking about a sociology thing and you say as men and you say not all men, well, yeah, no shit. Like we're talking about the average, you know? There's going to be people like on either side of the bell chart who are like outliers. It's yes. But cooling down, we're going to get into the more cultural aspects, you know, the culture shock of it all. You know, men shirking the draft. What was that tweet where it's like men need to just go to war and die? I don't think that they should. My mom was in the military. Oh, yeah. And so was my dad. He did get kicked out because he punched his commanding officer. Because his commanding officer was a creep, but dishonorably discharged. And they met in the Navy. You know what? This will be the cool down. They both joined the Navy because they wanted better lives for themselves. Mom's from Alabama, dad's from Wisconsin. Very poor upbringing. And my mom decided that, you know, she wanted to join the Navy to go to medical school where she had me. She was pregnant in the Navy. My parents met. My mom had just been divorced and my father had just been broken up with. And someone on the ship got shot. And dad being an officer, mom being an officer, they had to go to a meeting. And then mom hit on my dad. My mom's a much older woman. And they went on a date and she dropped to one knee and proposed to him a week later. And they've been married ever since. Is it functional? Yes. I mean, it's technically working. Is it healthy? I don't know. But they are together and they made me. And how is this the cool down? Love is what I'm saying. Their love is so valid. Speaking of love, my sister changed her last name to Love. So we're no longer a Schauer family. It's Schauer, Schauer, Love. Love, Schauer, Schauer, because I have a brother. And she got married, and her wife just moved to Australia. And she's becoming a sex therapist. She was an engineer, but unhappy with her life as her boss. So I'm saying we're a mixed bag, the Schauer family. And here in this communal shower of shared thoughts and knowledge, I hope that everything is going well and you're easy on yourself. Decentering anything takes a whole lot of time. I mean, like, getting sober, you usually have like a whole bunch of trial and error. Like if I were to tell you, actually I will, try to get sober probably around 10-ish times. You know, the whole, I'm going to do it. I'm going to withdrawal. I hate it. I've done it for 2 months. I'm relapsing. You know? So when you start to decenter anything, at least it's not full-on addiction. And if you realize it is full-on addiction to men or alcohol or what have you, you're in good company. I've been there. I mean, I used to date dudes, and I used to be a drunk. And I'm not moralizing, you know, take your time. The world is going through a lot right now. Be very patient with yourself. Also, grace, by definition, is unearned. Self-compassion is always the first step. If you think that, self-compassion won't work, have you tried it? If you haven't tried it, then don't speak on it. Be compassionate towards yourself. Give yourself some grace. Be patient with yourself. It is all totally fine. You are coming down from a lifelong prescription. You're going to be weird for a little bit. But so just remember that when going into this next episode, which I will get into the nitty-gritty more. But you usually shouldn't exfoliate more than a couple times a week. So I will be spacing this out for your mental health. But hopefully you guys are doing great. And thank you so much for listening. This has been Schauer Thoughts. Please join the communal shower. You can wear a bathing suit. It's fine. Or a shirt. Or you know what? You could just wait outside the front door. No, you got to come in. But thank you guys for joining us, me on Schauer Thoughts, and Rebecca as well.
Woo, Rebecca's passed out, not even listening anymore.
Ooh, I'm listening.
But yeah, this has been the first half of Decentering Men and decentering really everything. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. But also, if you feel I will answer them in part 2, I might, because I did also post a poll on my Instagram story and I'm going to answer some specifics. But thank you guys so much for listening. This episode will go out whichever day I decide it will go out. And I will text you guys. I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.